What we have been programmed and conditioned to desire, what we have been programmed and conditioned to enjoy, and what we have been made to need enslaves us. This is the purpose for a government system abroad the earth. In defiance of mankind's first learning the planet Earth and understanding of where his help was coming from, his natural resources from Mother Earth, after a time he was made to become of possessing no knowledge of how to sustain himself from his mother, and was placed before the paddles in the bottom of Roman slave ships. The conquering of mankind was the beginning of a new world system of thought and brutality after mankind had firstly destroyed himself inwardly, and thus have enslaved his brother, and proceeded of the violation of his sister. As it is in these times, all of which has been immorally moderated through a system of hypocrisy and a degenerate form of sophistication, as these devices of iniquitousness have ruled the moral fiber of each government and in the same movement have created a living society of humans living lives of inhumane acts against humanity as a whole. This is given indefinable in an elementary sense in which is enabled to be commonly known and felt, as even a child could perceive proficiently. As this condition is established for the benefit of the rulers of the system, as thus does not benefit the ruled. As this is the reality, other manners of deception has through the centuries been created for the enjoyment of the occupiers to blur them of their troubles just enough for them to feel as though the devices created and established to deceive them are in fact a refuge from what they have been placed in bondage of, as this has been made needed for them, because of the tyranny of the system's necessity to created policies of various positions for the governed to perform for the sake of the government stability and therefore power, while the enslaved work hand and knee, sane and insane, for the sake of their survival. Sports for the entertainment of the mind and emotions, the exhaling of the time away from the plow, the paddle from the bottom of the ship. As this exhale has a tendency in effect of justifying being subjugated and conquered. Well, it's not so bad. If only for a little while. Just a couple of days away from the system and I will be a grateful slave when I return, and even thank my supervisor of how much I enjoyed my time away, knowing the fact that he or she in truth does not care, nor have my best interest in mind away from this institution. All of these false manners of expression emanates from centuries of those before us being conquered by first fear of that which was abnormal for man in his behavior towards his brother, as he dressed himself willingly of iron breastplates and the carrying of the sword with intent to dash into my neck or to thrust it into my heart if I resist. If I first disobeyed my own sense of freedom and took upon his desire to rule me or dominate me because he is currently being ruled by an evil force outside of himself, who has been destroyed firstly as a human being. Romans 12 verse 2. King James Version. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good, and acceptable, and perfect will of God. The life journey is activated by the will of God in all of its formality and activity, as this is known as the function of prophecy. The living experience of mankind and woman, which has been foredesigned for the sake of a sacred fulfillment which all have come to believe is true without the power to change its trajectory, however has no proposition of why, all of which holds a precise reasoning to exist within its own design. To create human lives for the sake of heaven and the other for the purpose of living within a hell after their physical death, is a seemed abnormality in considering of how the habitual pace of existence in terms of common reasoning is socially sustained. I find it through observation, that there are obviously some human beings whom were destined to fail in some aspects based upon principle of actions against what was not designed for their own well-beings. However, they are said to be ordained to be condemned and then punished for a design of which they had no acquiescence on having the freedom to resolve morally. Is that which is sacred beneficial to those who know not? Surah al-Baqarah, Section 4, Adam and Eve. Call to mind, when your Lord announced to the angels, I am about to place a vicegerent in the earth. They said, will you place there someone, who creates disorder and bloodshed, while we glorify you with your praise and extol your holiness? Allah admonished them, I know that which you know not. I bring to mind of what transpired before the current state of humanity was made and understood as a necessity, to cultivate such a distrust, such a lack of confidence in us as human beings, that to withhold vital information for divine guidance was perceived as an endangerment to us? Or was it in also assurance, an endangerment in some sacred manner for the divine? As the gift of time is forward suggestion through its established motion, the element of time is that which holds all of the answers which we desire to know, for knowing ourselves and of why we were desired through compassion itself, to be present as living human beings. Written by David Anthony Brayboy.